Good afternoon, this is Mrs. Jackson, and today we are going to talk about how you can read and interpret data in a pictograph. A pictograph is simply a graph that uses a picture or a small symbol in order to represent a number on the graph. And if we look at this pictograph, the title tells us how we get to school. That shows us that this pictograph shows how some students get to school. And the key on the pictograph will tell us exactly how many students are represented by each symbol. So in this case, our symbol is a smiley face, and each time we see a smiley face, we know that it represents 10 students according to the key on our pictograph. If we look at the row for walking, we can then see that walking is represented by 3 smiley faces. That shows us that 30 students walk to school, and we get that by counting each smiley face as 10. If we do that, we see that 10, 20, 30 represents the number of students who walk to school, and that shows us that 30 students then walk to school. And if we look at the next row, we see the number of students who bike to school are represented by 4 smiley faces. So if we count them, 10, 20, 30, 40 students ride their bike to school. And we can look at the next row, and our next row represents the number of students who ride the bus. We count those 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 students. 80 students ride the bus to school, and our last row is represented by the number of students who arrive by car. We're going to count those also. So as you can see, we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 students who arrive by car. So now we have all of our information that our pictograph is trying to show us. We can use that information in order to solve a problem. So if we look down here at our problem says how many fewer students walk than ride the bus. And when we see how many fewer, we know that we are going to need to subtract. And the two numbers that we're going to need to look for will be the number of students who ride the bus and the number of students who walk. And we see up here that the number of students who ride the bus is 80. We have 80 students who ride the bus, and the number that represents the students who walk is 30. So there are 30 students who walk and 80 students who ride the bus. So if we take our 80 students that ride the bus and we subtract the 30 students that walk, we can see that the answer is there are 50 fewer students who walk than ride the bus. We can also look at another pictograph to give us an idea of how else we would use this data. Our other pictograph shows how many students picked a particular favorite dessert, and this pictograph shows that students were picking between ice cream, cake, pie, and cupcakes. And the key in this pictograph tells us that each smiley face represents 2 students. So we are wanting to see how many students chose a cupcake as their favorite dessert. So we can go along and we can count the number of students in the cupcake row. And our key told us each smiley face represents 2 students. So let's count them together. 2, 4, 6, 8. But here we have a half of a smiley face. And according to our key, a whole smiley face equals 2 students. So then we know a half of a smiley face would represent half of that number, which would be 1. So let's try counting them again. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, plus 1 would be 9. So 9 students chose cupcake as their favorite dessert. And now we have seen how to use a pictograph to represent and interpret data. Thank you.